Unit 6, Adjustment to Final Account. Section 6, Accounting Treatment for Disposal of Non-Current Assets. By the end of this session, you should be able to describe the accounting treatment of depreciation charges, treatment of disposal of non-current assets, and treatment of depreciation in year of purchase and disposal. Accounting treatment of depreciation charges. As we discussed in earlier sessions, when the depreciation is computed, it has to be debited to the profit or loss account to match the benefits that are accruing from the use of the assets for a particular year, so as to be able to determine in a prudent way the profit or loss for that particular year. And again, since the depreciation is a reduction in the useful life or the value of the asset, it has to also be deducted from the cost of the asset in the statement of financial position. Now let's look at some examples with regards to the treatment of depreciation charges. We have already done how to using straight line, reducing balance, and the sum of years digit method to compute depreciation charges. Now let's look at some entries when it comes to depreciation charges. Let's look at this example. Good Luck Enterprise uses the straight line method of depreciation. It acquires a machine for 22,000 on 1st January 2006. The salvage value is estimated at 2,000 and the useful life is 4 years. Show the relevant ledger entries relating to the purchase and the provision for depreciation in each year, as well as the relevant balance, the statement of financial position extract. So we'll first have to compute the depreciation charge using the straight line method. So first of all, we calculate, and the formula is the cost of the assets minus the salvage value over the useful life. So the cost of the asset is 22,000, the salvage value is 2,000, and the useful life is 4 years. So using the straight line method, the depreciation charge will be 5,000 per annum. The ledger entries will be as follows. So the statement of financial position, in the machinery account, we debit the machinery account 22,000 and credit the bank account on the acquisition of the assets. We also compute or open an account for provision for depreciation for the machine. So in the provision for depreciation for the first year 2006, we will credit it 5,000 Ghana cedis for the depreciation charge. The statement of financial position for the first year, the cost of the asset is 22,000. The accumulated depreciation for the first year will be 5,000. So we deduct that from the cost of the asset and we have the net book value of 17,000. In the second year, 2007, the accumulated depreciation will be 10,000. We deduct that from the cost of the asset and the net book value will be 12,000. In the third year, again, the accumulated depreciation, since the depreciation charge for each year or per annum is 5,000, the accumulated depreciation for the third year will be 15,000, and we less that from the cost of the asset, giving us a net book value of 7,000. Again, in the fourth year, the accumulated depreciation will be 20,000, and we less it from the cost of the asset, giving us a net book value of 2,000. Now let's turn our attention to disposal of non-current assets. It is common in business for non-current asset, for example, motor vehicle, to be disposed of or sold after its estimated useful life. The accounting entries to be made when a non-current asset is disposed of are as follows. So the disposal account. The depreciation provided from the date of purchase to the date of sale is transferred from the provision for depreciation account to the disposal account. The balance remaining on the non-current asset represents the cost price of the asset retained, and the balance on the provision for depreciation account represents the accumulated depreciation on these retained assets. The amount received from the disposal is credited to the disposal account, and the balance remaining on the disposal represents either the under provision or over provision for depreciation. It is transferred to the profit or loss account. Disposal of the non-current assets. Upon disposal of the non-current assets, three accounts will be affected. One is the motor vehicles account in the statement of financial position, then the provision for depreciation of motor vehicles account, and the disposal of motor vehicles account. So the motor vehicles account will be debited with the cost of acquisition of the two assets, 30,000 and 40,000. So bank account will be credited and motor vehicle account will be debited. The sum of it is 70,000. Then a provision for depreciation of motor vehicles account will also be opened. The depreciation for the depreciation for the year of acquisition will be computed, and that is 25% of the total cost of the assets. So 25% of 70,000 is given as 17,500. So the profit or loss account will be debited with 17,500 as the depreciation charge for the year, and the provision for depreciation of motor vehicles account will be credited with 17,500. Upon disposal of the asset, the depreciation for that asset will be computed. And we know the asset that is being disposed, it cost 30,000. So the depreciation will be 25% of the 30,000, and that is given as 7,500. So we'll also open a motor vehicles account and debit the motor vehicles account with the asset that is the cost of the asset that is being disposed. So we debit the disposal of motor vehicles account 30,000 and credit the motor vehicles account 30,000 to remove it from the list of motor vehicles. So the balance on the motor vehicles account will be 40,000, meaning that the motor vehicle costing 30,000 has been disposed. Now, again, in the disposal of motor vehicles account, the depreciation charge for the asset that is being disposed, 7,500, will also be credited to the disposal of motor vehicles account. Then the value that is received upon the sale of the asset, which is 20,000, will be credited to the disposal of motor vehicles account. We know the corresponding entry will be debited to the bank account. Now, the balance on this account, which is 2,500, will be debited to the profit or loss account. So that is how to record the transaction ledger entries when an asset is disposed. Depreciation in years of purchase and disposal. It is not likely that all purchases and disposal of non-current assets will take place on the first day of each accounting period. New assets are acquired and existing assets sold at various intervals during the year, so it's difficult to show what depreciation to charge in the year of purchase and sale. The problem is usually solved in one of the following ways. Depreciation is calculated on the basis of 1 month ownership, and 2, the dates of purchase and disposal are ignored, and a full year's depreciation is provided if the asset belongs to the business at the end of the year. In this session, we describe the accounting treatment for depreciation charges and treatment of disposal of non-current asset, treatment of depreciation in year of purchase and disposal.